Good morning. Thank you for joining us. And we are talking to Maura McEnaney today. She is the author of Willard Garvey, An Epic Life. And if the name Garvey sounds familiar, well, it is, especially to the people of Wichita. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in today.
Nice to be here.
Okay, so this book took you several years to write, but for good reason.
Well, I'm a slow writer, number one. But no, learning Willard's story did take a long time. He was a person who not only started in Wichita, but he traveled all over the world. He had business opportunities all over the world. And then I had to have this history behind it. And I was never really a very good history major, so I had to study all of the things that could put him into context as he traveled through his life.
And while his name and family still does great things for the city of Wichita, he's really, I mean, he was an entrepreneur. Some of the words that I was reading in the synopsis: headstrong, blustery, outside thinker.
Yes.
He really is worldwide. I mean, you can tell by the cover of his book.
Most definitely. Willard was, again, a man who got a lot of his inspiration from his service in World War II. So some of the book talks about his experience in World War II, which I gathered from some family papers and obviously some history books. But then he came back to Wichita and he wanted to take a lot of his worldly experience and make Wichita a better place. That's really what he wanted to do. During the 50s and 60s, when communism was creeping in and America was very afraid of what was going to happen, Willard decided that he was going to make wanted to try to thwart communism by making people capitalists in third world countries and places where communism was a threat. So he went to places like Peru and throughout South America to build housing projects. So that's some of the cover of the book, of the places that he went. He traveled around an awful lot. But again, he always said he wanted to bring his best ideas back to Wichita.
And he did.
Yes, he did. And he was controversial about that too. Yes. A lot of people in this town will remember Willard getting up at meetings and going on and on about how much he hated the government. But Willard, that was part of his, in a way it was part of his charm, but he offered solutions to things. He didn't just get up. Today I think we see a lot of people just yelling at each other. Willard yelled, but he also said, I could do that for cheaper. This is what we should look at. Let's look at the budgets. How can we? So he was interesting that way because he had resources to do a lot of things and yet offered solutions.
I mean, really, to be such a world traveler years and years ago was a pretty big feat.
Most definitely. And so without email or faxes.
Exactly.
It was quite something. And all those children that are still around town will tell you about going on a world trip with Willard back in 1965 when all children went. They went all over the world in this crazy odyssey that was about 18 days long. And it's part of the book. It's quite interesting because there was a lot happening in the world at that time, too.
What do you want people to take away? They pick up this book, Willard Garvey, An Epic Life. What do you want them to take away from it?
Well, I think the thing is, despite all his resources, he was still a good citizen. And I think being a good citizen is what we sort of all owe our communities, you know, to try to give back and offer the solutions. But it's a history story as well. So young people would kind of get a little taste for what life was like in the mid-20th century, I should say.
Okay, and so we want to mention, too, that you're going to be at Watermark Books.
Yes.
We had Sarah Bagby on earlier in the show, and that's going to be tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay, and then you're also going to be at the Independent School, which I believe was a part of Willard Garvey's family, too, his wife.
Most definitely. It was built in their front yard, and it's still getting more and more space over there.
Absolutely. You're going to be there on the 9th.
Yes.
And then you'll be back here in Kansas at the Rotary for Members and at Barnes & Noble at the end of the month.
Yes, we love Kansas.
Okay, so you're going to be talking to a lot of people and signing books.
Yes. Happy to meet a lot of people.
So come out and meet Maura and pick up a copy of this book. Years went into researching and writing it, and it's wonderful. Thank you so very much for coming on. And enjoy your time in Kansas.
I do. Thank you so much.